Welcome to the Quinnisode, the cute and dorky cousin of the World of Horror podcast, where we talk classic horror, current horror, our favorite actors, and anything else that strikes our fancy. Hey Quinn, how's it going?
It's going pretty okay. Uh, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I had quite a weird day. I had to go to the body shop because I did some damage to my bumper, and I don't know about anatomy of cars, but I learned that there's this thing behind the bumper called I don't know. Anyway, maybe it was the liner. Anyway, it was flapping and causing a very disturbing sound when I was driving.
Oh,
So I went to the body shop, got their estimate, $1,255. I mean, the dent is like that big. So, but the flapping was not tenable. So I just asked them, could you tie it up and so it won't flap? And I would have even paid them, but they didn't make me pay them, and they tied it up, and it doesn't flap anymore.
that's
And
great.
my honey bunny said that he can order a bumper and he can install it himself, and then maybe I can spend some money to get the car, including the bumper, repainted, because it's needed to be repainted for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's '09. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is. I had a car that I had to duct tape my muffler so it didn't flap on the highway and the roads.
Yeah.
That car also though, one of my back doors wouldn't open ever and
Mm-hmm.
one wouldn't actually shut. So I bungeed those together, and then it was a Volkswagen Jetta, and it had, I don't know what it's called. I don't think it might be a moonroof. I don't know. It's just one where it was like a crank open, but like it wasn't a window. It was just like a panel that would open. So it just could be open or shut, but it wouldn't shut.
Oh no.
Yeah, Greta the Jetta was a mess.
Oh my God. I had our 73 Beetle was named Gretchen.
Oh,
So
huh.
that's fun.
Yeah, I'd always wanted a Volkswagen, and I got one. It was a ugh. I think it was a 96, maybe 94. It was a I ended up looking it up afterwards. It was a particularly bad year
Mm.
where a lot of the parts were made in some country instead of some other country, and it's just like there were lots of problems. But also it only had one owner before me, and he owned a Volkswagen dealership, and he also fixed them. And he was a friend of my mom's son, and he was like, "This is the best car I've ever had. She's never given me one problem." I drove away from his car lot, and someone rear-ended me,
Oh my God.
and then it was just like everything went wrong. And I was like, Ted, like, what the heck? This car hates me. It wants to be with you, I think, but
I had problems with my college cars. I had a Chevy Nova, which my grandfather sold to me for I think 75 cents.
it's a good price.
And I had that when Sammy was 18 months old till he was about 5. And before that, I had my sister-in-law's Rabbit.
Oh gosh.
But I got into a little car crash with that. It was like I was the the filling inside a car sandwich.
Yeah.
Because it was Wisconsin in the winter, you
There's a
know,
lot of car sandwiches.
yeah, lots of car sandwiches. So, um, and then one time I turned the car on to warm Sammy up, And then I locked him inside of a running car. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
had problems with some cars,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I wasn't in the most clear minded state of mind I've
Yeah.
ever been either. Um, okay, so that happened. And then what else happened? Well, at some point, I went on Facebook, and my Facebook memories were of my cat Wolfie, who has left this earth. She left in 2021, and the date was February 2020. Before COVID. So anyway, it was just like, here's my kitty. I love my kitty. And I was like, oh my God, stab me in the heart, Facebook.
Mm.
But then later that day, later today, I was driving and the car in front of me had a vanity plate, and the vanity plate said Wolfie. And I was like, what in the Sam Hill is going on?
That is so crazy.
I
They
know.
said that's the strangest word, and I've never seen it anywhere else. I've never even like seen that word.
Well, yeah, I guess this is not why I named my kitten this, but I guess Caitlin Cronenberg's child is named Wolfie.
Mm.
I keep tabs on the Wolfies in the world.
Yeah, you should.
But yeah, I was just like, okay, that's like synchronicity shit. That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yep. And what else happened? I don't know. It's like a 65-degree day. Um, I basically need my AC on today.
Mm-hmm.
Next week it will be cold again, and it's just the beginning of February as we're recording this. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I this is just random, but I saw a license plate yesterday that said force feed. And I was like, what does it mean?
Ugh.
I know, I don't it's sort of creepy.
Yeah, very like you're gonna have to live with that for a while.
I'll never know what it means.
No, baby, why would you order that for your car?
I mean, there's got to be a meaning, like I don't know, but I don't think I even want to know.
I don't.
Nah.
I don't think it can be good.
I don't think it could be good either.
Force feed me knowledge. No,
That's
not
not even
even.
good. No. Force
Not
feed
even
me
good.
love. No, that's
Ugh,
scary.
I don't like
Force
it.
feed me spinach. No, none of it is good. Oh God.
um, so we just started teaching classes about a month ago. It feels
5 years
like
ago.
it feels like yeah, it's been at least twice as long as it actually has been.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I have so many dead relatives already. Like I cannot keep track of them all. And then on top of that, everybody's got like
The flu.
the flu, the norovirus.
Yeah.
Like nobody has COVID anymore,
No.
but people have like these ridiculous sicknesses. They're in the hospital, you know. This one,
Tuberculosis is coming back.
oh Jesus.
That's a that's one. Oh my God. That's one. I don't even know what to say about it, but you're going to start hearing about people having it.
Oh, I don't want to hear about people having it.
No.
No.
Bird flu. All of the excuses are getting more and more like as the world gets worse, obviously the excuses are getting more and more nightmare fuel territory.
Yeah. So this woman said her uncle died, and that's why she wasn't in class, and that's why she forgot to do this assignment. And I don't know if that's true. That could be true. So I just said, I'll just exempt you from this assignment. And she said, that is unbelievably kind of you. And that made me suspicious. But
Yeah.
I'm like, is it?
I mean, you're not. Yeah, it's that makes me suspicious too. Yep.
Yeah, but I can't track down everybody's excuse, which is why I generally don't take excuses. But I was just like, well, this is better for me, actually. It's one fewer assignment I have to grade. So,
Yeah, I am of the mindset this year too that it's kind of like the semester after COVID started
mm-hmm.
when I was just like, you know what, this world is really hard. So I'm gonna just be, I'm gonna just give grace, even if it's not deserved, because I don't have the energy to investigate whether deserved or not. And I'm gonna just err on the side of grace.
I think that's what we should do
Yeah.
because I don't even know if people are really processing. I don't think I'm processing what's happening. Like, I heard two pieces of bad news today from the government, and it's like, I can't keep up. And I heard that it's out of Steve Bannon's playbook to put three pieces out a day, and two are distractions, and one they actually want to get through. And I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it because it seems like every day it's like one thing after another, and you can't really keep up with them after a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Yeah. There were like, I just kind of got off of reading the Heather Cox Richardson posts. I'm
Mm-hmm.
on, I think this is day 4 of not reading them. And it is really hard to not in the morning. And then it's like also it's confusing because then I don't understand other things, but I don't think I'm meant to be reading them daily.
Yeah. Does she have like a weekly digest
I
that
don't
you could
know.
read?
She
Hmm.
hasn't, I don't think she's done these since, I mean, consistently since he left. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's not a lot I can do. So,
Yeah.
um, but I can stress myself out real easy if I choose to. So,
Oh, yeah.
trying not to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I need to acquire some healthier, um, you know, I don't know, coping mechanisms. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I went for a walk with one of our colleagues the other day, and I was like, "This is somebody I hadn't seen for a while." And I was like, "How's it going?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, our government's fucked up, our school's fucked up, our department's fucked up." And I'm like, "But how are you?" But I mean, it's like, yeah, it sort of feels like that sometimes. Like, this is not a good time.
No, it's a really scary time. I really,
Yeah.
I yearn for the days that I didn't wake up and doom scroll.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really took those days for granted. I don't know. I guess when stuff like this happens, you have to just turn to religious horror.
That's right. Nice segue. So, so I had wanted you to watch the first Omen for a long time, but instead, you and I went and saw The Heretic together, and we talked for, I don't know, 45 minutes or so in the parking lot afterward, talking about our disappointments about it. But so this is a film directed by Arkasha Stevenson. The screenplay is by Tim Smith and Stevenson and Keith Thomas. Story by Ben Jacoby, based on characters by David Seltzer. And it stars Nell Tiger Free, Taufik Barhom, Sonia Braga, Ralph Ineson, and Bill Nighy. Cinematography is by Aaron Morton. It's edited by Bob Murawski and Amy E. Duddleston. Music is by Mark Corvin, and the release date was April 5th, 2024. It has a running time of 119 minutes. Little long, I have to say, but not too long.
Yeah, I think I remember stopping it when I thought it was like the midpoint, but it was actually only maybe a little less than a third in. I was like, oh, whoa. But then the rest just, whew, it flew.
Yeah, it just sings after a certain point, just like I think I've seen it 4-ish times, and I just watched it like last week, 2 days in a row. And the second time I was just going to watch it like that up from the beginning to the middle part, and I just like watched it all the way through. It's just so good.
I liked it too. I'm not going to make you wait because I haven't told you what I think about this movie yet. So it's going to kind of like bait you on a hook for a minute. But man, I loved it. Uh, it was definitely for me. And I did not have any expectations going into this. I mean, I know you said I would probably like it, but I still didn't believe I would because I'm really not into things that are attempting to be put somewhere inorganically, which I feel about this movie. I just don't. I was like just loath to see it because of that. I just don't usually. I mean, that stuff is usually really clunky and doesn't fit in any sort of world, but this does. This is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is. I almost want to say it's better than the Omen, but I won't say that because I know that's
Sacrilege.
that's heretic language.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really liked it though. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's get in.
Well, how do we feel about Nell Tiger Free as the lead?
Wasn't super happy to see her at first, but holy fuck, was I wrong? I only know her from Servant,
Mm-hmm.
and she was so like kind of deadpan, a little over the top as things went on, and I don't even think I watched the most recent season of it, but like she was good for what she was, but I thought that's all she did. And even in this, I was like, oh, great. Here we go. But she was so like, I don't know, innocently evil and like whimsical at one moment and care. I don't know. She's good. Great.
Yeah.
I loved her.
Yeah, me too. And it was such a delight to see Sonia Braga again, like as this sort of very stern, scary nun.
Yeah.
Um, just I don't know, she's just got an amazing face. So I was just real excited when she showed up. Also, I mean, Bill Nye, who is, always a delight whenever he shows up, and then freaking Ralph Ineson as young Father Brennan.
Yeah. He's, oh my God. He's he's like a child in a Victorian painting. Like his face
Yes,
is just so pure and like I don't know, chiseled in this Victorian baby manner. He
yes.
is fun to watch.
Yeah, really great. Like really fun. And that very first sequence is such an homage. I thought not only to, of course, the Omen, but also Don't Look Now. Did
Yeah.
you
Oh
think so?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. The first thing I was like, scaffolding in Italy. What are we doing here? Like whoa. Yeah, that was so cool. I thought it was overtly an
Yeah.
homage. Yeah.
I thought you would be in at that point.
Yeah. I was kind of in at that point, but then I don't know. I don't know when I was fully in. But also like the beam to the head, like so Omen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Father Brennan.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that scene. Like, God, he was just like, are you okay? He's like, yeah.
It's Charles Dance. Yeah, his like crazy face is, oh man, so good.
So good.
And yeah, we meet Sister whatever her face is. I can't remember what her name is.
Silva or oh, Margaret.
Margareta. Yeah,
Margaret.
she's and I just also she wasn't in the credits, but that Italian or that Spanish actress who played Luce, also really, really good. I loved her so much.
She just looked like she looks like she's from the 50s. Like she
Hmm.
looks like a like 50s era movie star. She was so good.
But what I think is kind of fun is like, you just sort of have this like, it just sort of I don't know, it kind of seduces you, with like Rome, and then you get the student protests, and so okay, you get a little bit of danger. But then you go to the orphanage and it's like the children are wonderful, but there's this like air of like menace, or something underneath the surface, and just like our protag, we can't really figure out like what's going on. But once she goes over to Luce's house and she hangs up her dress, her gown, whatever you call it, I don't know the name of that. Her
Like
her habit, um and it comes to life in a really wonderful sequence. I was just like, yes, this is a wonderful film.
yeah. I so when I started watching it and um Charles Dance is telling him, that years ago this baby was born and is here in Rome, and she is the baby of the devil and that people are kind of guarding her and whatever. And then after that scene, obviously we cut to Margaret, and it's like, oh, well, that's her. And then of course we're led to believe that it's Carlita, one of the girls at the orphanage. But then, and we find out that she is a spawn, but that Margaret is as well. And
Hmm.
she's the one that's going to carry out the, the prophecy of having bearing a child, because the child, the devil child, has to be from the devil, but then also the devil's relative.
Yeah, the devil has to mate with his daughter, which is not great, and Carlita's too young. And so I'm not exactly sure how old Margaret is, but she's at least late teens. And so I guess she's old enough. But I mean, those reveals are just really fun. The only thing I did not like about this movie, I have to say, is the plan that the cult has to like direct people back to the church. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I think really a devil cult would just kind of like to bring about the Antichrist. I think that's really the
That
main
is such a
plan.
flawed plan.
Yeah.
If they actually believe in the power of the devil, that's such a flawed plan. I don't. Yeah, so their idea is that they want to bring in more parishioners and bring in more faith to Catholicism, and I guess the idea that the youth is kind of revolting around Italy. They want to like bridge the gap and create more Catholics, so they think by ushering in the Antichrist that they can control it and show the power of the church. And I think that's bullshit. I almost think that like when I was watching it and got to the end, I was like, I wonder if that was something that like was fed to her because she wouldn't be able to believe that these people really wanted, the to usher in the Antichrist and then see the world burn because of it. Like,
Hmm.
but then I don't know if it's that deep, like that he was really protecting her by just lying in that way. That doesn't make sense either. So,
Yeah, I just thought, the plan, yeah, you don't want to have the devil as like a part of your plan, um
yeah, that's a
unbeknownst to the
real,
devil. Like,
yeah, that's
yeah,
a real like
you don't want to make
flaw.
a deal with the devil, and you don't want
Yeah.
to have the devil be a pawn in your plan. When we're introduced to Luce, she says that well, her body's going to be covered up for the rest of her life by this habit. And so she just wants to enjoy it. And no, she doesn't say she wants to enjoy it. She says she wants to like let it breathe. Yeah, I love that a lot. And they go to this club where they meet Paolo and Paolo's pal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's implied that she is drinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of see like this other side to her. And I think, like, as a viewer, I was like, do not take your vows, live your life,
Yeah.
date Paulo. Like, he's adorable. And she inadvertently, he says, "What do you do?" or something. And she feeds him a line that the kids told her it meant, "I am a teacher and I love teaching," but it really means like, "I am a butterfly and I'm going to fly."
Yeah, I have to
And he's
fly.
like taken by that, or we think he is. Um, yeah. And then cut to her waking up. Um,
Well, and we get that crazy shot of her hair um, all splayed out on the pillowcase, and her eye makeup's all smeared and everything like that. But the shot of her the night before in her when she's getting dressed, I wanted to go back to that moment, and she's got this like open blouse basically, and she keeps trying to like close it up. I just thought that was so sweet. But when she decides to really go for it, she dances with Paolo. I mean, how could you not? 1971 in Italy in a disco.
yeah.
Gosh.
Also, when it reveals her, in these loses clothing, I guess she's like a goddess. I mean,
Yes.
like, it's she definitely has glamour going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. When we've seen her up to this point, she's sort of been this plain Jane with her hair pulled back, and I don't know, her features aren't really on display. Of course, her body's not on display, and so yeah, it's quite a moment when we see her in the disco. But the next morning, she asks Luz um, if she embarrassed herself last night. And Luz is hilarious. She's like, "No, you behaved for the most part."
Yeah. And she's like, she definitely looks like she's a little queasy, but she gets on with the day. And I mean, I don't know, spoilers ahead, but we find out that that whole night was like this night that the Satanists, set her up to um mate with Satan, or a jackal.
Yeah, and Harvey is, yeah, he wants to get in on some of the storytelling, I think, because he is a secret Satanist.
Yeah, Harvey is here temporarily and he's doing his afternoon back rub, and he's loudly moaning. He definitely is a secret Satanist. Well, he's very sensitive.
Yes, he is.
He discovered a portal in my parents' old house in their dining room, and it was old Civil War soldiers were going in and out.
It's okay.
That was a really loud yawn that he just did.
But anyway, so yeah, we'll find out all about that night a little later. But then all this shit's going on at the orphanage with Carlita. She is getting into trouble. She is being sent to the bad room. And I love that line where she's like, "Sister, why is there a bad room?" Like, what the fuck? Um, but she's got this sort of special bond with Carlita that is very sweet to see. And then we realize later why. that I guess they're half sisters. They have the same dad.
Yeah.
So,
He's not a great guy.
no, he's kind of absentee father, and
Yeah,
but
but they bond, and she says that she, sees herself in her and Carlita, and tells her that when she was younger, she also saw things like Carlita does, and also was deemed bad as well. At one point, there is another nun that's kind of paying Carlita some attention, and it's kind of weird. And like the camera lingers on it, and she puts her like hands on her sometimes and like guides her. And at one point, she's with Carlita and they're drawing, and Margaret comes up behind them and looks at the drawing and asks if Carlita did it. And she said yes. And it's kind of like a dark, scary thing of this woman with like a child inside of her. And then the other nun is like, I drew that.
her
And
name's Angelica, by the way.
Angelica, yes. And she's like, I don't really think that's super appropriate.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we get the homage to Omen 1976.
It was all for you.
But she ups it a little bit, she ups the game because she immolates herself before she hangs herself. And so that is very reminiscent of a Korean film, actually. And I wondered if that was intentional or not, because in that one, a woman immolates herself as she hangs herself in front of a family.
What is that?
The housemaid, I believe.
Did we watch it for Squad?
We might have. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, it's very familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the housemaid. It's the remake of the 1960 Korean classic.
Yeah.
So that's
Also
exciting.
cool, not cool, but like there's also a connection to like protesters
Yeah.
and Buddhist nuns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yes.
yeah, lighting themselves on fire in protests of regimes and whatnot. Yeah. Oof.
It would be
That's
so cool to talk to this director. I mean, it is like so bold, the allusions she makes, and I also think the cinematography in this thing is like next level. I mean, I think I've seen it whatever 4 times, and I think I've just like it more and more every time I see it. I just think it's really, really great.
yeah. I was. It scared the shit out of me.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, which is not super typical, but also kind of that stuff changes for me as I age. I never know what it's going to be that's going to freak me out. But it was, yeah, she does an insanely great job with pacing and
Mm-hmm.
tension, suspense. Oh my God. I was like just hooked. I mean, and I'll get to this. I didn't like the end, and I can talk about that at the end, but
Yeah. So I think they go on this like field trip. They get caught in this student protest. But before that happens, now Margaret is starting to hallucinate the dead nun who is, or novitiate or whatever she was, who burned herself, who is now sort of hanging out with Carlita. Yeah, so that's
yeah.
kind of creepy.
And then, so while in the crowd during the riot, she's like being
Yes.
touched and pushed and shoved. And then you get like an image of this like monster beast hands with these long nails, the jackal or whatever, on her shoulder. And she is just screaming in like torture. And the main nun, Sonia Braga, like her character sees her, and then later that day when they get back to the convent, I think that's when she has the conversation with her that's like, you need to stay away from Carlita, and I think you need to like take a step back and chill and maybe pause your vows for right now. But that's like not, hey, consider this, it's an order. Um,
Right.
so
We did gloss over one sequence and one fact of the orphanage, which is they take in pregnant women, supposedly, right? And we see the birth of, or this woman going into labor, and there's something very disgusting and creepy coming out of her vagina. And at first I was like, what are they even trying to show us? Like I thought it was like an egg or something like that. But then we see this like claw come out of her. But before that, I mean, she is freaking out and they have to like sedate her and all this stuff. It's a really harrowing scene.
yeah, and after they sedate her, she's like, "Oh, calmed," and then gets this like sadistic smile on her face, and is just moaning. It's like a sexual pleasure or something while birthing this monster.
Yeah, that's quite disturbing. And our Margaret sees that too. And
I
then
think she passes out.
oh, that's right, she does pass out. Poor thing. This is all a lot. Um, well, she gets put into the bad room, and it is a bad room. I mean, we knew it was bad. I thought this was a great touch. Like when we saw Carlita in it, she's drawing on the floor and that kind of stuff. And we come back to that later. But the thing I thought was so creepy about this room is there's no sheets on the bed and there's a bucket underneath it. And I'm like, this is horrible.
Yeah, it is gross. It's the stained mattress, the thin mattress. Yeah. Before she gets put in the bad room, however, after the sister says, "Chill, don't touch Carlita, and you're not gonna take your vows right now," she she is so she goes to Father Brennan, or Father Brennan goes to her.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay, we've skipped over that part, and he tells her, "Hey, there's this girl," tells her everything, right? And that's when I was referring to, I'm not, he reveals the plan that this cult or whatever wants to like usher in the birth of Satan in order to strengthen Catholicism and whatever. And she's like, "No, you're crazy." But she starts seeing evidence of it, of course. And then he says, "I need the proof that Carlita was born on June 6th at 6 a.m. So all I need is the proof." And so once she starts to be like slightly convinced after she starts seeing things and things, she starts looking for files of the girls, and she asks one of the priests there, "Do you know where that would be?" And he's like, "Mm-mm." And that's what the sisters hear, and I think like that's what's urges them to say, "You're done with Carlita, step back."
Mm-hmm. Does Paolo die before she's put into the bad room? Yeah, I think so because she sees him on the street and she's like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know." Which I mean, I think you knew, Paolo. But anyway, he says he doesn't, and then he says something very cryptically or tries to get it all out before he's smushed between a truck and a wall. And he says, "Look for the mark," and he points to his head. And then he's smushed and he is bisected.
Oof. Yeah, and she thinks that she's saving him because she can get a hold of him, but she only has hold of his top half, which
Mm-hmm.
is so traumatic. Also, when he started saying, I didn't know," I was like, "Oh, he's saying he didn't know she was a nun." And I was like, "No, put this together, honey. Come on. Connect brain waves." But yeah.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, then she's put into the bad room and she starts to um, really bad. She starts to kind of hallucinate a little bit, and she has this hallucination of this figure that's like standing in the shadows next to the wall. Now, this I think is an allusion to an old Japanese film called Pulse. from like 2000 or something. And there's this really great sequence in that where this figure comes out from the wall and just like basically pounces on this guy in slow motion. But in this case, we just see the figure and it just stands up like in a really creepy way. And I thought it was her in some weird way, but no, of course, it's the burnt up nun Angelica. And she just like rushes at her. It's so scary.
Yeah.
And there's something, I don't know if it's, I think it's right before that, and she's going, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. And then this voice goes, what isn't real?
She's like, who said that? Yeah, and she has this like mantra. I mean, she grew up in an orphanage, right?
Yes.
She's so and like she was sort of deemed bad. So she has this like mantra that's like, the world is a good place. You're meant to be here. Like just these words of affirmation that she tends to like cling to when she's nervous or worried or like completely terrified. And it's like I think it's a really good tool that's used narratively, because you're hearing all this whispering so much so that, especially when she's in the bathroom, it's like so clear to hear a different voice saying, what isn't real?
I'm so scared. That one got me.
Yeah. And then that's when the priest comes in.
Yeah.
And he's like, I found the files, because she had the files. She went down through the nun's office and found a huge filing system, and then found proof that apparently years and years and many, many, many tries of attempting to seal the deal with Satan and a woman, really very few have ever worked out. Most of them were born like stillborn or with major deformities. So she finds out that Carlita was born on June 6th at 6. And so she hides the files. The priest finds them and he says, I found the files. Let's go. And he takes her back to Father Brennan's house. And this is kind of when a lot is revealed.
When there was one time when Carlita was having a fit, and it was like this low angle shot up into, like, we saw the upper palate of her mouth, and she had the 3 6s inside her mouth. And so that's a really important plot point, because the devil wants to spawn with his daughter, but the mark has to be on the daughter's head. And so at Father Brendan's, we find out that it's actually Margaret who has the mark on her head. And it's reminiscent of that scene in the Omen where Gregory Peck is looking through his son's hair in the church and he sees the mark. So wonderful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reveal. And then I think it cuts to Paolo saying, look for the mark. And it's just really well done.
Yeah.
Because it could be done so trashy. It's just well done. It's beautifully done.
So they are going to, there's a car chase. What I really love is her driver has remained loyal to her throughout the whole thing, which is great. Her driver, Luca. So even though there are cultists all around, he's going to try to get her to safety. But the car is run into, and I think the young priest, I think Luca and the young priest die. Brennan obviously doesn't die because he shows up in the next chapter. But this is where we get that homage to possession, where she just sort of freaks out and she kind of convulses a bunch, and she seemingly has, like, I don't know, like a miscarriage, but then her belly becomes full and there's just like all kinds of disgustingness going on with her.
Well, the next scene is like she kind of wakes up and it's brighter and she opens her eyes and she's not like, it's just a nice shot of her eye that doesn't seem to be in trauma. But then, yeah, I guess she's taken into this church, and you hear Bill Nighy's voice, who had kind of taken her there and had definitely had a role in her becoming a nun or wanting to become a nun, and had been a part of her growing up in formative years. Um, and she's like tied to a table.
Yeah, and so she gives birth, and it's a cesarean, which I've had two of those, and so this is very like triggering for me. Um,
Yeah,
but
I don't want to get into details, but like, I also watching that scene was like, is that the cut? Like, is it vertical?
no, usually
It's
it's
horizontal.
horizontal across. They call it the bikini line,
Yeah.
because it's right at the that point. Um, but the doctor does reach in like that. So I mean, I didn't see it from that angle, obviously, but yeah,
Yeah. No,
um,
I can't even.
yeah. And but the thing that comes out of her is just sort of like this gloopy. I mean, the horror in this is really good because I mean, obviously there's a fear around pregnancy anyway for most women, but this thing that comes out of her is just sort of like a pupa or something. I mean, and it's like kind of just slick and wobbly, and it's just so disgusting. And
Yeah.
then they cut it open and all this fluid rushes out, and then it turns out there are two babies, and one of them's a girl. Now if it's a girl, it can't be the Antichrist, so she's relieved, and then they say, and a boy. So she's like, oh shit. um
Yeah.
and they take the boy baby away, and they set the room on fire, with the hope that she and the female baby will die.
Yeah, and in between there, she, I guess, grabs the scalpel without anyone seeing. Yeah. She kills the priest, Bill Nye.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she's got the scalpel to the boy. And Luz comes in because she's also part of this, group. And she's got a knife. She hugs her and stabs her. They get the baby away. Because she's not going to actually put the knife to her child. And Luz stabs her in the stomach. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're like, let them burn it up with them in it. Um, and then Carlita saves them,
Yeah.
gets them out of there. So her and the girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't like the ending.
No. So then you have a scene of them driving to the American consulate, like, right? The American consulate in Italy. And they're like, we're gonna the baby's gonna go to the what is he? He's the American
Diplomat.
diplomat, okay. Um in Italy and Rome. He's, going to lose a baby tonight, and this is going to be the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind that so much cuz like I think it kind of cleans things a little bit and like ties it, but I don't think it's needed, but I don't like the last scene.
Okay, the scene at the cabin.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't
I
you
think
describe what
that's
happens?
so then you have this shot of Margaret and Carlita and the little baby, and she looks to be about like two, maybe 2, 3, I don't know. And they're in this cabin, which is like and you can see like the long shot before the interior is in the mountains and snow, so it's like this starkly different setting than Rome. And they're just like this cute little family eating dinner. or she's cooking dinner and Carlita's helping and the little girl's like not eating or eating and they're joking and laughing and they seem normal. And then one of them hears something, and you can tell like that they're probably very good at listening for things. They know that they're, probably there's people that don't want them to be alive or that don't know that think that they're dead. So they need to be hiding. And Margaret's got this rifle, and Father Brennan is at the door, and he's like, I know that you don't want to see me. And I mean, I think like if you were to not know about the Omen and not remember Father Brennan, you would have thought he died in the car accident. But he says, I know you don't want to see me, but I need to let you know they know that you're alive. And they know that the girl's alive. And the girl is important. And I don't know, it just felt so heavy handed, or like not really heavy handed. It just was like in a movie that I felt like was nearly perfect. I just was like, no, leave that out. Just like people who are going to like this and people are going to like this. Like if they like good horror. So you don't have to like go overboard feeding them this narrative because they get it. Like they get it by now.
Yeah.
I hope I do think like because the Omen was the 70s and now we're in 2025, I don't mind that they referenced it directly. I kind of like that. And also it made me just like want to immediately go watch the Omen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, if this like Omeness, becomes important in the next film, it's like set up for that.
Yeah, and I guess I needed to look this up, and I kind of feel dumb that I didn't. But did we know that Damien had a sister?
No, I don't think so.
No.
In the original, the mother was a jackal, and so yeah, there were a lot of things that were different. But I don't think Damien had a sister in the 1976 movie.
Yeah, or the second, like whatever.
Yeah.
Version. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta say though too, like after like professing my love for this, I think I'm good on seeing women tied up and raped by Satan. Like I'm good on that for the rest of my life, I think. There's so much. I don't know.
This one was particularly disturbing because there was like this black cloth put over her head and then like this noose fastened around her neck, and and they had those kind of like soft cuffs that you have like in mental institutions and movies and stuff, and it's just so scary.
And the black shroud over her head, it was really scary because of the tie, but also because when you were watching Margaret's mother, I guess, give birth to her, and when you saw flashbacks of her being impregnated, I guess, in both versions, you also saw like the outline of their teeth. And so it's like, I don't know, it was so raw.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I see certain scenes in film, I'm like, this is where I would have started hyperventilating. Like, there are just certain things that, like in the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I guess, like when they're making the pods, for the bodies to fit in or whatever, people had to like sit still for like 6 hours. I'm like, there's no way that I would have been able to like handle that at all. And this is another thing. The cloth over her head, there's no way I would have been able to get through that scene.
Yeah, and I'm also think I might be done with hearing folks on the other side of it say things like he chose you.
Yeah.
Like I kind of think I'm done with that plot line because it doesn't ever really pan out to be that. It's just like easiest, most convenient.
Yeah.
It isn't like he chose Margaret or Rosemary and Rosemary's Baby, I don't know. And I mean, especially in this movie, are really driven home the point that it doesn't matter who you are. Cause like also we're covering your head and
Mm-hmm.
your mouth and your eyes and tying you are a body. Like even if like we understand that in these types of movies and like a lot of religious horror or anything where like we need to birth the devil into this world, like we get that it's not about the woman, like because that point's always highlighted, but in this movie even more so, like making her completely just like covering her up completely.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that, yeah, it just, she's a body, a vessel, like it is what it is. No one chose her. I mean, like I don't know. There's never any evidence that she's chosen. Like whenever the cult says that, there's no evidence of it.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yeah.
At around 31 minutes, the scene of Margaret in bed after her night out with Luce, with her hair splayed around her on the pillow, closely resembles the photograph at Warm Springs 1991 by photographer Sally Mann. And so I included it in the doc. I don't think it looks like it at all.
No, I thought that when I saw that, because there's so much emphasis on the hair, like it must be reminiscent of something. It's that.
The first Omen was very nearly given an NC-17 rating, largely for the disturbing birthing sequence, but after resubmitting the film to the MPA 4 times, with the problematic scenes still included with every resubmission, the MPA eventually relented when it was cut down from its original 13 seconds to its final form, receiving an R rating.
Huh.
Hmm. Um, there's that thing about possession. Um, and let's see. Of course, Sam Neill's in the possession, and he was also in the Omen, the Final Conflict. So that's a fun connection. And at around an hour, 3 minutes after Paolo's death, Margaret can be seen praying under an altar. The distribution of the candles in the scene, when the camera pans out, resembles a face with fangs, where Margaret is centered between them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I'll
I
see if
gotta
I
look
can
that
find
up.
that. See if I can find that one. And I thought about this, but I think everybody in my generation would think about this. The room number where Father Brennan explains all the details of the conspiracy to Margaret is 42, which is also the, quote, answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, according to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Phil Knight played Cardinal Lawrence in the first Omen, as well as the start of Bartfest
Hmm.
in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Slartibartfest. I
That's a
don't
hard
know
one.
that name.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, that was 8th grade for me. I don't know. Did you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah, but I didn't like read it a lot. I think I just read it to have read it when I was in college. So it was way later.
Yeah, I read it, and then I think it was like NPR or something had like a radio drama that I also listened to. But yeah, I did a book report on it in 8th grade, though.
Oh, how did you do on that?
I think I did pretty well.
Good.
I was kind of a nerd. Here's some letterbox reviews. Do you want to? I'll do the 5-star reviews. Do you want to do the half-star reviews?
Okay, so the first
The
three are
first.
half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't usually do the half stars.
I know we're gonna flip it in the next
Okay,
movie.
that's good. All right, this is Ruthie B. Hayes. Um, gave it a half star. If I could drag this movie into a church and stab it, I would.
Ruthie.
I mean, I think that's a compliment. No, I don't know. I don't know who Ruthie is, so I don't get it. Um, uh, Mime Share?
Sure.
Mime Share? gave it a half star, said, I can never look at a vagina the same again. Well, I mean, okay. Logan's G04 gave it a half star and said, so ass, yo.
That's it.
I can't even begin to understand what that means.
Well,
So I feel
as you
like
may know, Mac and I always try to find the ass reviews. So I found one for this one.
so ass, yo.
All right. Kirsty Crab gave it 5 stars. Cinematography, 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more. Kira_45 gave it 5 stars. My 2 biggest fears, nuns and pregnancy. And Mike Flanagan, he doesn't give stars. He just reviews things on Letterboxd.
Oh.
And he says, this was absolutely excellent. Arkasha Stevenson roars onto the scene with his absolute knockout debut feature that is wicked, vicious, elegant, beautifully directed, and downright scary. Nell Tigerfree is exceptional. I don't know of another time I've seen a franchise I thought was dead gasp so brilliantly back to life. As the credits began to roll, I found myself actively hoping for another installment. Expect great, great things from Arkasha Stevenson.
Oh, wow. I also, I want to see another version from her, that takes place while Damien's doing his thing, from the perspective of Margaret. And there's something about, I don't know, it's almost, I don't know, it's like a woman presenting this feels differently.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's everything that she's doing right altogether or if it's her perspective that I can't put my finger on that just feels like it's respectfully done or more delicately done. I don't know. There's something to it though.
I mean, I feel, she's obviously a horror fan and she knows what she's talking about. I mean, the references are so on point, and obviously a lot of respect for the OMEN itself. And I just thought it was super bold.
So that's it, cue balls. Thanks for tuning in for this special episode, and thanks to Quinn for having this conversation with me about the first OMEN. Next up, we're going to be talking The Heretic. Not my favorite movie, but lots of people liked it. And so we hope to have that to your ears very soon. We will be back with the main show in April. Thanks for all your support. It means the world of horror to us, truly. Remember, WOHOs and cue balls. We love you. And don't go into the basement.